What is slowly ruining all movies? I don't know how to describe it exactly, but lately, I have been seeing a lot more movies where the only way to really describe the structure is stuff happens. Like, I don't feel like I'm experiencing a story, more a train of thought. This was the last Star Wars movie to me. Hey, we need to find that dagger thing, and then we need to find this person, and then we need to find this place where another person is. And in between laser shots where nothing was at stakes. Yes, exactly. Rise of the Skywalker is definitely the prime example of this. There wasn't a story to be told, but rather plot points that needed to happen, and they worked backwards to stitch those plot points together rather than organically developing anything. In screenwriting, these sorts of things are called MacGuffins, and the idea is that the MacGuffin is the stupid thing that gets the character onto the quest in the first place: the letter from Hogwarts, the baby brother in Labyrinth, the ring in LOTR. What is supposed to happen is that the importance of the MacGuffin itself fades, because as the hero goes through their journey, we see their development, come to care for their companions, and watch them all grow as people. The problem with the new Star Wars films, and many of these stuff happens films, is that they have a pre-decided list of action scenes or a huge list of marketable characters they want to cram in, and we get the MacGuffins to carry the hero from point A to point B. But then the second part, where we see the character exist and grow in the world, never happens because they're in too much of a rush to get to point C through K, or because they have 20 characters that all need to get from point A to B separately. If you watch the old Star Wars, there are so few main characters, usually all in the same place or in two groups. And there is so much downtime between story beats, compared to the breathless seek and find of the new ones. But also, we're never given a consistent reason to care about Rey. In 7 we're being told there's a mystery surrounding her abandonment. In 8 we're then told she is no one and there was never a mystery. And then in 9 we're told she's the most important person in the galaxy since Luke Skywalker. The sequels are just all over the place. This happens with other characters too. In 7 Finn is portrayed as beginning a true hero's journey when he defects from the First Order. But then he spends 8 doing pointless quests, and then in 9 he's suddenly force sensitive without any explanation why. The dagger in 9 is the ultimate MacGuffin of all time, though it's insanely bad. This ancient dagger somehow predicted the shape of the fallen Death Star from a super specific vantage point the main character just happens to stand at. I mean, what? I remember in the early 2000s, every pop media critic was complaining about films being too predictable. I feel like screenwriters have responded by making their films chock full of unnecessary contrivances and twists. It all just becomes noise, and gets in the way of meaningful character development. If I Am Your Father appeared in a film today, then the audience wouldn't bat an eye. That kind of stuff has become so common that it's lost any weight. Movies like that always mess me up and give me sensory overload. I couldn't enjoy Man of Steel or Midsommar because the dialogue was always too quiet and then suddenly comes in with booming music. I want to watch a movie, not be jump scared. Dog shit sound mixing where action and music are deafening and dialogue is so quiet that you have to strain to hear it. Legit takes me out of the experience and makes me angry. I do not watch movies to be frustrated by stupid things. Showing too much of the movie in the trailer. Less is more. I've pretty much completely stopped watching trailers since Batman v Superman, and it has greatly increased the enjoyment in the theater. Yep, I'm with you there. I prefer to find out things in the movie. The trailer for Gravity shows Sandra Bullock, but no other characters, having returned safely on Earth. The sounds that go from a super quiet whisper to eardrum bursting explosions. I can't watch a movie at home now without having the remote control right next to me so I can play with the volume throughout the entire film. Characters talking? Turn it up about 10 levels. Action scene? Turn it right down again. Frustrating. When they mix the sounds louder than the dialogue and you're wishing you were watching with subtitles. I swear I didn't used to have to hold the sound remote the entire time. There is a sound setting on most new TVs like game mode or movie mode or music. One of those should work less bad. So I watched Dune in an IMAX theater with booming audio. I'm pretty sure that this is what the audio was mixed for and that I could hear everything, but even then I had some trouble actually making out the dialogue sometimes. On my home viewing setup it would have been unintelligible. As much as I loved that movie to bits, I was a little annoyed that all the instances of the famous "I will not fear" mantras were whispered while deafening sound effects music were playing. I have a decent 5.1 sound system in my house. I have calibrated it and messed around with the center channel levels as well as the other channels, but no matter what I do, I have to either watch the damn movie with subtitles or constantly pause and rewind to see what the F that guy just said. So that happens even with a 5.1 system? I totally knew it. So many people are like, oh, well, you just need to get a big ass sound system, problem solved. No. No one should need that. I would venture most households don't have a effing sound system. We don't even have a well-shaped room for one, so we got a good soundbar. Still whispering and then an explosion that hurts my eardrums. I can hear my dog fart at the back of the house, but can't hear dialogue in an action movie. We are a subtitle household thanks to new movies. Why can't every DVD have a 2.1 option for sake? Annoyed this is this far down. They really need to sort sound balancing, especially for home release. We don't need eardrum bursting volume at home and would rather hear the talking as we know what an explosion sounds like. Reboots and crappy writing all for the purpose of making money. Movies are more investments than artistic expression. You can predict all the beats and plot points to most big studio movies nowadays. Especially horror. You can plot the movie almost directly every time. The mom experiences a trauma. They move to a new place. Strange things happen in the night. The mom gradually notices the strange things. The husband has a heartfelt concern over the aforementioned trauma. Little boy says something to indicate he is seeing the same phenomena but more severe. Mom gets increasingly unhinged as phenomena increase. Begins to read up on it at the library or on a generic Google. Oh no, something happened to the little boy. The dad believes her now. They decide to call some side character they saw for 30 seconds earlier who is an expert / used to live there / knows the story. The expert comes in. They ape the fuck out of Poltergeist but half-ass it with much lower stakes. Throughout all of this the ghost only scares people, never hurts them. The problem will be solved for a happy scene or two and then something seems amiss. An even bigger horror scene begins. They made a mistake. But then in the chaos they will realize the true answer to the mystery. The mom finds the ass bone of the old Korean woman who died on the front lawn in 1886 and magically the ghost situation resolves. This is so true. Horror movies went away from slasher style. And now it's all about hauntings. It's like let's remake Poltergeist 400 times. They blend together so badly. I have a hard time telling the difference between Conjuring and Insidious. Are they the same damn movie? My favorite horror movie to date is 28 Weeks Later. In my mind nothing will ever come close to how scared I was as a kid watching the house scene. The nightmares. The true horror. Where has it gone? Recently watched Eternals and was surprised to see that despite standing in broad daylight on a beach, it was still dark. The cave scenes might as well have been a black screen. No wonder they were never discovered. They're perpetually in shadow. That movie was so hard to see. At least half of it was dark gray shadows on a black background. It is such a big problem in both shows and movies nowadays. I think it's crazy that the Battle of Helm's Deep in Lot handled darkness way better than anything today, and that was 20 years ago. Too much darkness can ruin a show / movie. Just look at the final battle in Game of Thrones. Even cranking it up to high brightness couldn't save that. I feel bad for the people who braved the elements to shoot it, because it didn't do it justice whatsoever. The worst part is, the darker the scene, the more likely light from windows or other parts of your house will obscure the screen a bit. I hate that shit. I'm a huge fan of 30s and 40s B films. Gangster films, prison films, westerns, melodramas. It's my late night comfort zone. Yes, they plots are predictable, redone several times, and often then redone as a more famous epic. The acting is often not the greatest, and you get really familiar with the same stock footage and music cues. But they're great stories told well in 70 minutes or less. They didn't have the budget, or the studio time, to add in anything that wasn't necessary to the plot. There's just no extra bullshit that would push the plot out to 2+ hours. It's the power of branding. Once upon a time a director might have made Kung Fu Cops, then Karate Cops, then Boxing Cops because he wanted to make movies with righteous violence. Now those would be Kung Fu Cops 1 to 3, then a reboot down the line. I mean, is it really more creative for a director to make movies with similar concepts and themes that are unrelated, or to link those ideas into a greater shared narrative? Is Karate Cops really preferable to Kung Fu Cops 2, Karate Chaos? I know that technically they are different versions. But if we continue to make more Batman movies, I'm going to blow my brains out. DC has so much to offer from their world. So many cool villains. But we keep getting Batman after Batman, and now like 4 versions of Flash, Joker reimagined for the 10th time. I'm actually excited to see things like Shazam explored and opening up. Finally, some original stories never explored. Batman is pretty cool. But please no more Batman. This is it for me. Everything should have a target audience. Ultimately, not everything is made for everyone. In trying to do that, there is money to be made, but the movies are just more forgettable. The beauty of everything not being meant for everyone is it allows people to potentially expand their tastes. I have found out I like a lot of things that I'd have otherwise never experienced if things had been sanitized to appeal to everyone. While everything has a huge narrative, a bunch of cinematics, and lengthy dialogue these days, so I'm not even really sure what makes a modern game an RPG anymore. Closest is probably the blank slate character creator open worlds, but those are mostly done by Bethesda these days, and they've dumbed down character creation to the point where it's essentially pointless because your build can still do everything. Worst thing is, due to just trying to have these features, they never put focus into them. There's games I play for one mechanic that they've gotten right. Like a crafting mechanic. And then there's games that have many mechanics, but each one blander than the last one. Like the newer Far Cry games. You got crafting, hunting, collecting, leveling, yet it all feels so senseless and obsolete. Action movies with plot armor. Main characters can be shooting 400 trained armed men in open space, kill all of them without a scratch. This is a pet peeve for me too. Mr. Couch Potato fighting off trained mercenaries. Like no, those guys would kill me before I woke up. There's no stakes at all. It's so boring. Trailers that give away anything that could be considered a surprise. First trailer for Terminator 2 tells you Arnold is the good guy now, imagine not knowing that and being surprised in theaters. Trailer for Captain America, Civil War shows Spider-Man, imagine not knowing he was in that movie and having your jaw drop. I wish trailers could be as vague as possible and not give away the biggest part of the movie. I'd say in that regard, Spider-Man No Way Home showed massive restraint. All the attention and money going to big cash-grabbing franchises. There are still good artistic movies being made, but they don't get enough notoriety or money. Also, big franchises can still be good, but they seem to be trying too hard with the humor. Ends up not being funny, it's straight up annoying. I mean, even when they use real actors and actresses, they still have a bad habit of picking from the same small collective group, and even when they don't, their choice of individual always looks like they came from the Hollywood Easy Bake Oven box. Pandering to people who spend half their life on social media.
Consider subscribing this video if you enjoyed and wish to see more. Thanks for watching.